Hey yo, what's up, people? So, we're gonna first start the series by taking the big three and doing a team analysis on them. I call them the big three because these guys are currently the big three of the PvP meta as of March 23 for SDSGC Global. Now, let me explain why. Let's first start with Ban because Ban is definitely like the top one unit. Undoubtedly, and a lot of people notice, but a lot of people don't know why. They just be like, I want Bond because he's top tier. But when you ask them like, why is he top tier, they'd be like, I don't know. So that's why this guide exists in the first place, so you guys know when people ask you why Bond is top tier. So first off, Extort Life. What this does is every time you don't hit Bond, he takes 10% of your team's HP and just like decreases it. And this is a problem. Why? Because this means that every turn you'll need to hit Bond at least once. Otherwise, he's going to take 10% of your HP. So that's like free damage for your opponent. That's free real estate. And paired with Snatch, you begin to see a problem because what Snatch does is it extorts your opponent. What Extort does is decrease the target stats and increase your own stats by the same amount. So if you're taking 30% of your opponent's defense, let's just forget attack for a bit. If you're taking 30% of your opponent's defense and they have to hit you, they're gonna do like 0 damage. Like think about it, like, even if 3 people hit you, they're gonna take what, a third of your HP? Unless they cleanse it, so they're gonna take a third of your HP. It's not a problem because at first skill at Drain, you have a lifesteal of 30%. It's like, what? So what's happening? You're gonna be left thinking to yourself, why is this guy immortal? And trust me, when you face Bond in PvP and you don't understand his kit, that's exactly what your reaction is gonna be. Like, why does this guy exist? But yeah, breaking down how to counter Bond, because so Bond's good. Let's summarize this. Bond's good because he takes 30% of your attack and defense, and he uses it to buff himself. And if you don't hit him, if you don't focus him, because you're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to hit Bond because he has 30% of my defense. Nope, that's not a thing. You need to hit Bond at least once because he's gonna take your HP. And if you do like try to focus him, he's just gonna lifesteal it away. So he kind of sounds like a perfect unit, but trust me, he can be countered. Like how to counter Bond: keep on CCing him and hope that your opponent doesn't have cleanse. Even if your opponent has cleanse, if you CC Bond, they're gonna invest 1 turn and like making sure their Bond is like fully functional. If they don't cleanse the CC you do, then good for you, Bond's offline that turn. And yeah, cleanse. Make sure you have King. If you don't have King right now, you're essentially going into suicide because yeah, for Snatch, you counter Bond by cleansing the Extort or petrifying him. And yeah, so there's so many things you can do to counter Bond. It's just he's so meta defining because you need to do so much. You need to design your team to counter Bond if you want to excel in PvP and you don't have him. As for the ult, I'd say S tier because this kit right here, Drain, Snatch, Extort Life, SS tier, definitely like top tier unit, big 3. But his ultimate, I'd say his ultimate is confused because he's extorting 50% of attack and defense, but the multiplier says he wants to kill the enemy, so Bond's kind of confused in this one. If his ultimate is like extort 70%, I'd say that's broken. But extort 50% and then deal damage and single target, I'd say it's okay. It's S tier, but definitely not SS tier. So yeah, that's why Bond is broken, and that's how you counter him. Next up is Jericho. Jericho has abysmal multiplier. I mean, look at that, 110%. What's that gonna do? Nothing, actually. That's gonna do nothing if you use flash attack alone. And let me explain to you why Jericho is good. Okay, first off, repeated cuts. Repeated cuts, what it does is every time you use this kill, it increases your crit rate by 10%. So let's say you used flash attack 3 times. Your crit rate is going to be 60%. Makes sense, right? Simple. Nothing too special about it because let's say you did crit, your multiplier is going to be 1.7, so 110%, 170% multiplier. It's still going to do something, but it's not going to do anything, and you're going to begin to wonder why exactly Jericho is a beast, right? Why is Jericho a top tier unit? Well, it's because of the weak point. What weak point does is it multiplies the damage by 3 if the enemy's debuffed. And you're gonna be like, well, how do we put debuff in the enemy? Well, many ways. First off, even Jericho herself has a debuff in the form of bleed. So what she does is flash strike, bleed, make the opponent bleed. When you do a weak point, it's gonna do 30% because you multiply the damage by 3. So you begin to see why this is a problem, right? Because you flash strike, like let's say for example, you flash strike King, you flash attack twice. One is rank 1, and then the other one is rank 2, and you have a multiplier of 3 times because of the damage, and you crit because of your passive. Then you begin to see why Jericho's top tier. Her one turn kill potential, her OTK potential is so high. It's actually weird why they let her exist in this game. Well, not really why. Please let Jericho exist. She's by far my favorite character in the game, just because I love her kit so much. That's my playstyle. And paired up with this, alright, this kit right here, S tier. I'd say S tier. Definite S tier right here. But her ult is easily SS. Like, look at this. If you have Julia in the form of an SR character, just build her. Build her to level 60. Boost your Jericho stats and use her. Make her the sub, because you inflict 640. I don't know if you guys like process this, but 640%. That does so much, and with spike, 2 times crit damage increase. You begin to see why this is a problem, because she can potentially one-shot your unit if she crits, like easily, without debuffs and anything. One-shot your unit, and that's why Jericho is a top-tier unit and is deserving of the big 3 status. Now King. I mean, you go to King. King is like okay, right? Like you look at King's, you look at King, you're like petrify 1 turn. That's solid. You remove debuff. That's solid. Ult is solid. This can be improved because right now Fairy is not such a strong race because it lacks so many pieces to work. When Red Hellbrom releases, that's gonna be there's gonna be a different story. But as of right now, you're like, oh, that's okay. But with the current meta right now, like a Bond running Rumpun, Jericho running Rumpun, debuff is so useful because it shuts down your opponent's combos, and you can debuff, like remove debuff of all allies by using a rank 1 skill. And immediately, because let's say for example your opponent does a snatch rank 3 and you have a King, what you can do is like cleanse it at rank 1, and then automatically you shut down a rank 3 debuff. That's why King is so good. And let's just say, for example, because Petrify removes a buff on your opponent. Let's say your opponent has your opponent snatched, right? So Extort is online, and then you Petrify Bond. It cleanses you, and you remove the need to hit Bond because you hit Bond and then petrified him. So not only did you shut down Extort life, you shut down Snatch, and you use that in 1 skill. And Bond can't move the next turn unless your opponent cleanses. So that immediately puts so much value in 1 skill, in 1 turn. And yeah, that's why this character is so good, because it shuts down. Like, alone, it's solid. I'd say this guy's S tier. But considering the current meta right now and what he does for the team, definitely just paste him in front of your team and just shut down Bonds, shut down Jericho's, because Jericho is going to be distracted. You can remove debuffs from all allies, so Jericho needs to put a debuffs again, because yeah, the weak point. And King just shuts down so many combos. It's actually a must, not really a must, but a good to have. And considering that he's free, just build him, paste him in your team. You're going to use him for a long time. Ulti, is the ult good? Yes. Shattered, despite 420% and despite the 420%, and you know he's a support utility, that 420% is going to go a long way, and it's AoE. And let's take to example, right? Bond has 350%, King has a 420% and attacks all enemies and has Shatter, which ignores resistance. Yeah, what I'm meant to say is King is a solid unit. Like, definitely add him in your team if you can, because he's gonna be with you for a very long time. So build him, and that's why these 3 are the big 3. paste them together, you can do so much combos. Like I individually analyze them, and you understand now why they're top tier. And paste them together. Let's just say, for example, you have Bond Jericho, right? So what Bond does is snatch, and then that's a debuff. Your Jericho is free to spam flash attacks on every one of your opponent. That's a combo. And then what another combo is like Petrify into a weak point if you don't have any other debuffs, because if you can potentially one-shot your opponent, it doesn't matter. Like you're gonna Petrify and you're gonna one-shot them, doesn't matter if they're unpetrified because they're dead. And you can do so much combo with this team and provide so much pressure just by, you know, these three together. I have had instances where my opponent just forfeits because they see that my team is a King Jericho Bond, and yeah, these three very solid unit, and that's why they're the big three. Hope you guys learned a lot from this analysis, and depends on the community response, we can do more of this one. Alright, thanks for watching.